My name is Jeff Evans, and I'd like to tell you about a man who contributed to the Oviedo legacy. His name, George Means. Now, he was born in Jacksonville, Florida in 1916 and loved the years that he lived in Sanford and Oviedo. He graduated from the University of Florida with a degree in agriculture, and he was an officer in the Army Reserve Training Corps. He moved to Sanford and was hired as the first person in the Farm Securities Administration in Seminole County, which was part of the New Deal program of 1939. And he eventually became Seminole County's Assistant Agricultural Agent. He was called to active duty in World War II and was stationed in Nashville, Tennessee, where he helped to standardize food procurement for the U.S. troops. Now, he always said that one of his most memorable missions was the time he shipped 48 carloads of chicken in one day now to the troops in the South Pacific. If you stop and think about it, that was quite the feat in 1940s. George said he loved Oviedo most because that's where he met his future wife, Minnie Lee King. Now, she was a graduate of Oviedo High School in the class of 1936, and she was active in the Oviedo community and helped organize two pivotal organizations, the Oviedo Garden Club and the Oviedo Historical Society. She was also a master flower arranger and a member of the Oviedo Women's Club. Now, Oviedo is a beautiful and quiet town, but like any other town, on occasion, things could get out of hand. And such was the case in the early 1950s, when George and his good friend John Currier responded to a neighbor who was being accosted by an intruder with a gun. Well, the gunman, he was waving a gun around and threatening the neighbor. Now, the gunman believed that the neighbor's husband had been cheating with his wife. John arrived first. He scuffled with the man and was shot and permanently paralyzed when the bullet lodged in his spine. But then George arrived, and he tried to calm the situation down by offering to leave with the gunman as his hostage, but only if he would leave the wife and the wounded John behind. Well, the intruder accepted George's offer and they left together. But some hours later, during another confrontation, the sheriff's department shot the gunman. But Oviedo was to be George's home. And he had had a long career as a salesman for the Wheeler Fertilizer Company from 1947 to 1985. And he was a charter member of the local American Legion, a member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, and South Seminole Christian Church. Now, his wife, Minnie, died of cancer in 2002 after 61 years together. 3 years later, George joined her over at the Oviedo Cemetery. But his only hope was to leave some sort of a lasting legacy with Oviedo. Well, much like Minnie had. Now, his experience with aerial photography and agriculture came into play when in 1950, the Florida State Road Department began a project to replace the wooden bridge that spanned the mouth of Lake Jessup with a fill-dirt causeway. George was appalled, and he believed that separation of Lake Jessup from the St. Johns River would cause great harm to Lake Jessup. For the next 55 years, he made a real nuisance of himself by badgering officials and community leaders about that continuing damage of the causeway. Unfortunately, he would never know the successful outcome. You know, there are many people who contributed to the fabric of the little town of Oviedo. And George Means, well, he was just one of them.